but this description I've shared with you is empirically verifiable, which basically means, in simple English, you can see it with your own eyes. You can see it. Let me explain what this means. If you read through the entire Bible and try to find out how often does the Bible speak about believing in the Messiah, to believe in the Messiah, that expression never comes up. Let me give you an example. We live here in a wonderful country. Stephen Harper is our Prime Minister. Would anyone tell you, I happen to personally believe that Stephen Harper is the Prime Minister? Or would anyone say, you know, I happen to personally believe that Barack Obama is the President of the United States? You would think someone like that was strange. What do you mean you believe it to be true? It's not anything you believe in. We know that Barack Obama is the President of the United States. He won the election. He's sitting in the White House. He's the President. So the Bible never speaks about believing in the Messiah. Why? Because as I said before, we will know who the Messiah is because we'll be able to look out the window, we'll be able to read the newspaper. The signs of when the Messiah is here are visible. You can see with your own eyes. Have the Jewish people returned to their homeland? Has there been a temple that's been rebuilt? Have the weapons of war been destroyed and the world is now a place of peace? This is not something you have to believe in. This is something that you will know when it happens. Everybody in the world is going to know it. And so the Bible never speaks about believing in the Messiah. However, what do Christians always speak about? All Christians speak about is, do you believe in Jesus? Because they don't have a Messiah concept that you can see. Their concept of the Messiah, as we'll see in coming weeks, their concept of the Messiah is not empirically verifiable. It's not something that you can see. It's something that you have to believe on faith. So again, it's very, very important to understand these three aspects of the Jewish Messiah. Number one, that it's a description that is exhaustive. Number two, it is clear and consistent. Number three, it is empirically verifiable. Again, it should be clear at this point that the Messiah has not yet come. It's nothing personal against Jesus. It's nothing personal against Jesus. As a matter of fact, there have been many people in Jewish history, many people who claimed to be the Messiah. Right? None of them has fulfilled what the Bible teaches us. The Bible gives us a description. The Bible gives us a template. The Bible gives us a job description. It has not been fulfilled by anyone. To us as Jews, it is clear that the Messiah has not yet come. I want to share two more points before we conclude for this evening. Point number one is actually very complicated, and I'm not going to deal with it in great detail, but just that you should know there is a potential problem here. One of the things that is the clearest about the Messiah is that the Messiah has to be a descendant of King David. That's one of the clearest things in the Bible. Because in every passage about the Messiah, it speaks about him as basically a descendant of David. So the question is, was Jesus a descendant of David? Was Jesus a descendant of David? Now, the Christian Bible spends a lot of time trying to substantiate, trying to prove that Jesus was a descendant of David. And in 2 chapters in the Christian Bible, 2 different chapters, it gives the whole genealogy, gives the whole list of people going from King David all the way down to Jesus. Tries to trace, to give you all of the names. There are many, many problems with these lists. One problem is that one list is much bigger than the other list. And that's very strange. Because, let's say, for example, someone wrote my biography, right? And they were going to trace me back to my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. Let's say I came all the way from King David. So let's say one of them had 30 generations, and the other one had 40 generations. Why is that? Why is one list so much bigger than the other one? The other problem is, if you compare the 2 chapters in the Christian Bible, all the names are basically different except for 2. Now, how is that possible? If someone wrote my biography and said, Michael, the son of William, the son of Isaac, and someone else said, no, Michael, the son of Bob, the son of Joe. Which one is it? So one of the problems is that the Christian Bible tries to prove that Jesus comes from David, and yet the evidence it brings is contradictory. That's one problem. Another problem is that in the Christian Bible, we're told something very strange. We're told that Jesus didn't really have a father. One of the beliefs of Christianity is a belief in what they call the virgin birth. It means that Mary, the mother of Jesus, did not have relations with a man. She was married to a man named Joseph. She was married to Joseph, but they never had relations. And so Jesus did not have, according to the Christian Bible, a father. So what happens is, in these lists that they provide, all they really do is trace his mother's husband back to King David. But then the Christian Bible says, but this man, Joseph, was not the father of Jesus. So all of their effort to try and trace Jesus back to King David is sabotaged because they say that his mother's husband was not his father. All they really do, all the Christian Bible really does, is to trace Joseph back to Jesus. Again, Joseph is the husband of Mary. But the Christian Bible says that Joseph, though, was not the father of Jesus. So here we have a problem. How does Jesus trace himself back to King David? And there are many, many other problems. We're not going to go into all of them. Just be aware that when it comes to the genealogy, when it comes to the ability to trace Jesus all the way back to King David, there are serious problems. I want to share one last problem with you, and that is on page 14 of your source sheets. Okay, so here we have an interesting prophecy from the Jewish Bible, which tells us that before the coming of the Messiah, Elijah the prophet is going to return. Jewish people were very in tune with Elijah the prophet. It's interesting that in the Jewish Bible, this prophet never died. We're told that at the end of his life, he went up to heaven, never died. And the Bible tells us in the last few verses of the prophet Malachi that before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord, before this incredible time when basically it's the day, it doesn't mean a 24-hour day, it means this era, this time, when it'll be the time of the Lord, because it's talking about that time when the whole world will believe in God. So before that time comes, the prophet tells us that Elijah the prophet will return. Pretty simple. And all Jews, basically, and all Christians believe this is a messianic prophecy. So, if it really is a messianic prophecy, if it really is, then did Elijah the prophet return before Jesus came? Again, if Christians are claiming that Jesus was the Messiah, then Elijah the prophet would have had to have returned before Jesus came. Did Elijah the prophet return or not? So in the Christian Bible, we're told that Elijah the prophet did return, and he came as this very famous person back then named John the Baptizer. There was a famous Jew at the time of Jesus whose name was John, and he would help people to repent, to do tshuva, by taking them into the Jordan River and putting them in a big mikveh. It was called a mikveh, right? And he was a way of preparing them, helping them to become better people. So the Christian Bible says that this person named John the Baptizer was Elijah the prophet. Again, that's the claim that is made. That's the claim that is made. And we understand why they make that claim. Because again, the Jewish Bible says that if someone is the Messiah, then Elijah the prophet had to have come back before that person. So for us, the question is, was John the Baptizer, was this person, Yochanan, John the Baptizer, was he Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Navi, or not? Was he or wasn't he? So it's interesting that in the Christian Bible, in one of their books, they ask him, the Jewish people ask this John the Baptizer, they say, "Are you Elijah?" They ask him, "Are you Elijah?" And he says, "No, I am not." So it's very hard to insist that no, he really is Elijah the prophet. When they ask him straight to his face, he says, "No, I'm not." Another problem is that the prophet Malachi tells us that when Elijah the prophet returns, he's going to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to their fathers. It's not clear what that means, but it seems to be something significant. And there's no evidence that John the Baptizer accomplished that in any way. So here we have two additional problems with Jesus. Again, I just want to sum up now. The major problem that we have as Jews in terms of Jesus being the Messiah is that the Bible has a job description. The Bible has a template. The Bible has a clear picture of who the Messiah will be. He will be a wise and righteous descendant of King David, who's going to rule Israel when the whole world has been transformed into a paradise. The whole world has not been transformed into a paradise. It's clear to us there's no Messiah yet. Secondly, we saw that in the Bible, the Messiah has to be a descendant of King David. It's not so clear to us that Jesus really was. And finally, the Bible teaches us that before the Messiah comes, Elijah the prophet has to return, and we have no evidence that Elijah the prophet returned before Jesus came. So that's basically the class for tonight. We call it the Real Messiah Part 1. Next week, we're going to continue with the Real Messiah Part 2, because there are many questions that come up now. For example, what do Christians say about all of this? I mean, I think I made a pretty clear case tonight why Jesus could not have been the Messiah. And so next week we're going to begin to study what do the Christians say in response to tonight's class. Okay, thank you all very much. And before you leave, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer any questions. Okay, yes?
I'm just curious, how was Jesus born at the time of Revelation?
We don't believe that they had, right? That's what they believe. They say it was a miracle. Okay.